All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Phillies series, along with all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. More shifted to the news and rumors, considering as we get very, very close to the trade deadline. So we will be recapping this series, but not really for long because, same old story as we are seeing right now. This team is pretty much in the same condition. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live following every single regular season series. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of our new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of live recording. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 225 of our show. And like I already said, we are going to talk a little bit about this series, not as much. Relatively, if you were to wake up in a coma and you just be like, oh yeah, this is a positive, we got ourselves a series win, awesome. Either way, there are three of us here on the screen. It is me, it is Andrew, it is Matt. And we've got plenty to talk about, obviously, of the foregoing trade deadline that is vastly approaching, now 2 weeks away. But before we get into that, low-quality air did not stop this juggernaut of a Mets team that came into Philadelphia, and they get a series win. So basically, that puts us in a great position right now. Matt, firsthand, where, all we got to do is really win like 55 more games, and we're back in this thing.
Well, theoretically, if the Mets were to go undefeated in the second half, they could make the playoffs, and I think they still might be in contention for the NL East too. So, the Braves better watch out because the NL East is not over. Certain people in New York media have stated that, but the NL East is not over. Listen, and on all jokes, the season's over. It's been over for about 2 months now. We're just treading water until the trade deadline, which is like 2.5 weeks away, which for everyone else, look out because there will be a huge stream here on Mets Weekly trade deadline show like we do every year. At least now both me and Evan will be permanent members, so we'll have more control behind the scenes. So that should be interesting, along with everyone else joining. I did not watch a single pitch of the series. I'm not going to lie. Thursday I was working. Saturday I was working, and Sunday I chose to watch the World Cup final over this garbage team. So, congrats to Spain, by the way, on winning the World Cup.
But final, but okay.
It is.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting, to be honest. That World Cup final. I'm not gonna lie. I watched a good amount of that too.
The halftime show was the best thing, so that's about it.
Yeah. All right.
Typical American bullshit from Andrew. But yeah, that's it. We're just treading water up until the trade deadline.
To be honest, you don't really need to know much other than the highlight video that I usually prepare here. So you'll have that. And to be honest, I think there's only really one thing we're going to talk about afterwards. So again, like we said, we're not going to go too in depth on this because this team is completely out of the race. But hey, they got a series win. It was fantastic. It was a statement against our division rivals. I mean, it's just so important for the morale of this team to start winning right now when it doesn't matter whatsoever. But either way, there's a lot of reports that have been coming out, just flooding, to be honest. Every single hour we see something of the upcoming trade deadline, mainly because this Mets team is in a position where, again, high payroll that they do have, they're going to have a lot of guys that are going to be available on the trade market, not to mention with the expanded playoffs, there's going to be less sellers than there are buyers. It likely will be more of a buyer's market, so that might go into the Mets' advantage. And again, we are going to talk about that later on. But beforehand, let's actually run down what happened here in Philadelphia, where the Mets did grab themselves a series win, and the season has now started just now, right? Either way, here it is, Mets versus Phillies, game 98, 99, and 100 of 162. Roll the tape. Back on the road following the All-Star break for a 3-game set in Philly, the Mets would strike first in the 3rd inning against veteran right-hander Aaron Nola. Francisco Alvarez would launch his 10th home run of the year to dead center, a solo shot to open the scoring. Christian Scott would make the start, and he was fantastic, pitching into the 6th, then exiting after a 2-out wall-scraping double to Kyle Schwarber, as Brooks Raley would strike out Brandon Marsh to end the inning to close the book on Scott. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts on 79 pitches. Top of the 7th, Mets still up by 1. Brett Beatty would lead off with his 5th home run of the year to the first row in right center, giving the Mets a 2-0 lead. Next batter, Francisco Alvarez would go back-to-back, his 2nd home run of the game, his 11th of the year, this one to the left field bleachers, putting the Mets up 3-0 into stretch time. Huskar Brazaban would pitch the 7th and toss a 1-2-3 inning on 12 pitches. However, Luke Weaver would get the 8th and give away the shutout. Trey Turner would launch a solo shot to left, getting the Phillies on the board. But the Mets would get some insurance in the road 9th. Runner on, 2 out. A.J. Ewing would slash an RBI double down the left field line, scoring Jared Young, putting the Mets back up by 3. As Devin Williams would finish it off in the 9th, tossing a 1-2-3 inning, striking out Alec Boehm to end it, securing his 14th save of the year to take the series opener in Philly 4-1. Following a mid-series off day, Sean Manaea would make his 7th start of the year and get greeted rudely in the 1st inning. Runner on, nobody out. Kyle Schwarber would demolish a 2-run homer to the 2nd deck in right field, making it 2-0 Philly after 1. The Mets would respond in the 2nd inning. Tyrone Taylor would launch his 7th home run of the year to the left center field alley to cut the lead in half. Manaea would settle in a bit, but pitch into the 5th where he'd surrender a leadoff solo home run to Trey Turner, putting the Phillies back up by 2. Later on, following a costly throwing error by Francisco Alvarez, runner at 3rd, 1 out, Alec Boehm would add on with an RBI single to left field, scoring Kyle Schwarber. Manaea would exit with 2 on and 2 out for Kodai Senga, who would load the bases with a walk, but finish the inning striking out Derek Hill, closing the book on Manaea. 4 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts on 99 pitches. Senga would come back out for the 6th and get into some instant trouble. Bases loaded, no one out. Bryce Harper would plate a pair with a 2-run single to right field, scoring Bryson Stott and Trey Turner, extending the Phillies' lead to 5. Senga would also start the 7th and surrender a leadoff single before the game would be sent into a rain delay. Fast forward 45 minutes later as the tarp would come off the field, Xavier Curry would take over and pitch the remainder of the game, tossing 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 1 strikeout on 19 pitches. As for the Mets offense, 3 hits, 2 of them from Tyrone Taylor, as the Phillies would even up the series in Game 2, 6-1. And in the series finale, the Mets would jump all over Phillies spot starter Alan Ronhell out of the gate. 1st inning, runner on, 2 out. Francisco Lindor would launch a 2-run homer to the 2nd deck in right field, his 6th home run of the year to open up the scoring. Next inning, runner on, no one out. Luis Torrens would add on with an RBI double down the left field line, scoring Brett Beatty. Later on, bases loaded, 1 out. Francisco Lindor would collect his 3rd RBI of the game with an RBI single to right, moving everyone up a base. Next batter, Carson Benj would plate Juan Soto on a sacrifice fly to right field, putting the Mets up 5-0 early. Fast forward to the 6th inning, 2 on, no one out. Juan Soto would line an RBI single to center field, plating Luis Torrens, giving New York a 6-run lead. Nolan McLean would make the start and was fantastic once again, pitching through the 6th and ending his day with 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts on 93 pitches. Following stretch time, A.J. Minter would get the 7th and spoil the shutout, surrendering a solo home run to Alec Boehm, getting the Phillies on the board. Huskar Brazaban would get the 8th and work around a 1-out walk with 2 strikeouts for a scoreless inning. And Cioniel Perez would pitch the 9th, working around a leadoff hit and a wild pitch with 2 strikeouts, getting JT Realmuto to ground out to end the game, as the Mets would steal a series win on the road in Philly, 6-2. The Mets are now 42-58 on the season, set to begin a 3-game series in Milwaukee tonight at 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time, exactly 2 weeks away from the MLB trade deadline. All right, so there it is. There's your full rundown. So exciting. Again, these games are just so important for this team to win, and if they lose, they're very detrimental. But either way, the one thing I do want to point out before we even get into everything, because again, we're not going to spend so much time on this because, again, what is there to spend time on, to be honest? Like, this team has already made their bet. One thing I do want to point out, though. The 2 wins in this series, both being commanded by the brilliant pitching from Christian Scott and Noel McLean. We know that these two have pretty much been wedging themselves into the future plans of this team and likely will both have rotation spots in 2027. God forbid if we play. But either way, McLean, Scott, we also have seen some impressive outings from Zach Thornton. We'll see if he can continue on for the final stretch of this season. But for a team that a lot of people have been talking about with the rotation, and even Andy Green was talking about it yesterday, about them basically taking that next step into the rotation and being, actual like core pieces. Again, this was a lot of what was being talked about the player development, of what was going forward, of the guys in the upper part of the minor leagues. McLean has seemed to find his footing once again. Christian Scott, even though I don't think everything has fully been unlocked yet, because I still think that there's some restraints on him, he has been impressive. He's been a bright spot. You also have had some quality outings as well from Zach Thornton, who is also going to pitch in this upcoming series against the Brewers. And then there's some other pitching prospects on the way that, who knows, maybe they do end up contributing, or maybe, they don't end up panning out. Who knows? But Andrew, I'll go to you first, obviously. We know that the rotation is going to be something that we talk about a lot in the offseason. It seems like it has been ever since the Mets kind of moved on from that era of DeGrom to Scherzer to Verlander. That's pretty much just been the discussion for a while. But when you talk about like these young, cheap pieces, guys who are just starting off their career, they take a step forward. That can go a long way considering how expensive pitching is, especially on this market.
Yeah, and again, we'll talk as the offseason conversation, because again, we've pretty much said it since David Stern has been put in. We've always had a lot of discussion in the offseasons about the starting rotation. And obviously he wants to use some youth, and obviously when you have McLean and Christian Scott, we'll see with Thornton. Thornton, again, still has looked good in his small sample, but again, we've seen some pitchers have good sports, and then, reality strikes you twice. But at least having potentially 2 guys that you could fit into your rotation who have talent, obviously you still have some guys under contract who don't have a lot of talent that at least could be put in some spots. But at least, going forward, you can have 2 guys that you could pencil in the middle of that rotation where, like, okay, you feel confident with Nolan every 5th day. You feel confident, and you see Christian Scott continually getting better and looking more like the guy you saw before his Tommy John surgery in his rookie season, or a little cup of coffee rookie season. So you're like, okay, you got 2 guys here that 2 fits of your rotation. And again, we know what starting pitchers, we've already seen it with Scott. Any given day they could have an arm injury, and that's just how it is. Yeah. But if we're playing the positivity card and trying to play in a non-injury world, it's nice to potentially have 2 guys guaranteed next year, if there is baseball next year. Again, we'll see with Zach Thornton, but I think Zach Thornton, has looked good in a small sample. But again, we'll see again facing the Miz, but facing the Brewers, not the Miz. And we'll see if he can continue this hot stretch. But again, it's nice to see, to have some cheap, cost controllable starting rotation. It's just it's amazing that, like, okay, you have your 2 guys, but yet you're surrounded by crap, which is not a great sign. When you got your 2 cheap guys, and the guys that you did spend money on are pitching like minor league filler, or just crap 5th starter, or you're an emotional guy that can't pitch every 5th day because my arm hurts and I need a Legos to build in my off season. So like at this point, it's nice to see guys like McLean, guys like Scott.
What?
I don't know. I'm tired. But I guess in the next, and we talked about what's next. Again, we'll see with Jonah Tong. He's not developing at third pitch, so that's not going to be anything good. Santucci's been very good. Wettinger's taken a step back from last year's good year. This year, he's taken a step back. So, as most of the minor league system, at least overall-wise, the pitching, besides Santucci's really taken a step back. Yes, there's still maybe some more depth, maybe Zach Scott type of players where I think a Wettinger can be, a spot start. Can you make 3 starts, go back down AAA? That's potential. But again, you've seen it, and hopefully you saw they take a lot more arms in this draft. Again, these guys aren't going to be available in the next 3 years. But at least when you're starting to pencil in the rotation for next year, if there is, it's nice to comfortably say, oh, 2 free good starters, maybe 3 if Zach Thornton continues to pitch well. But again, you got to take it with a little bit of grace. Like we said, the season's over with. Players, teams not playing anything, which can play, stress-free. I mean, you can see guys do better. How many times have we seen guys in dead seasons be like, this is a building block, and then little expectations the next year, boom.
Yeah.
clock strikes midnight.
Yes.
So again, as of right now, it would be better if Thornton's kind of that depth guy, like a certain tall drink of water. It used to be that spot of he's the emergency guy. If anyone gets hurt, you throw him in there, not guaranteeing him a spot. But hell, if he pitches the way he has so far the rest of the season, I mean, it's great to potentially have three guys. But again, one guy especially in Noel McLean who is putting up numbers, again, top 20 in most important most important pitching categories for free. You take that every day of the year, and again, we've seen the potential with Christian Scott, and we're seeing it more and more being developed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're not going to write these guys in as, oh, this is an ace. This is the guy that we're going to be putting in game one of the World Series. But again, it's more of just the fact of having these guys who, again, have progressed and hopefully they continue to learn on the job at this current moment. I mean, Matt, I'll go to you on this. Obviously, we've talked about Noel McLean. He's had his bumps this year. I mean, we know that he's had some rough starts. There's been points where he falls behind in the count, rides the pitch count up. It hasn't been perfect for him. Scott, in a limited sample, has been a little bit more consistent, but he also has had some of the little bit more of the struggles that we've talked about before, where he definitely lacks put away against left-handed hitters, which he definitely struggled with before the Tommy John surgery. I mean, these young pieces are things that were talked about for multiple years now that could possibly be something moving forward for this team. And we're going to have to talk about it as moving forward because, again, they are just not in the playoff race. They're done. This is one of the worst teams in all of baseball. But it does, at least, with 62 games to go, for 3 out of the 5 days, gives you somewhat of, hey, I can watch this young guy kind of, progress into his major league career and let him learn on the job as of right now. And it's been promising. It definitely has been, especially with a rotation that has been seen as pretty negatively for the last few years of inconsistency. So again, guys with upside, again, it's been impressive for what we've seen, and it basically put them in a position to technically win this series in Philly.
No, 100%. And listen, when you look at the overall top franchises in baseball, obviously, I think we all look at the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are an outline. They're an anomaly when it comes to how they build their starting pitchers because they've just gone out there and assembled basically just a super rotation through trades and free agency. Mm-hmm. But for the Mets, the smartest way to do it, and because, obviously looking back at Stearns' tenure so far, while he's not, technically through 3 full years yet, we've seen the traits of Stearns that he doesn't like to pay for starting pitching. I hope that changes this offseason, considering that there's one superstar starter that's coming available on the market. Again, whether he chooses to sign with us or not, that's a different discussion. But they need to go all out and try to get him. But on the other hand, it's nice to know that, like you said, Carson, at least for now, every 3 out of the 5 days, you have at least guys that are, one, they're able to go out there, they're healthy for the most part, and they're able to give you, quality innings for the most part. Obviously, we've seen some of these pitchers, go out there and have a bit of struggles, like we saw with Noel McLean back in May, like we saw with Scott maybe, a couple weeks ago, he was struggling a little bit. We also saw that Scott, initially when he came up, like you said, he had some struggles putting away left-handed pitchers, had, some trouble giving up the long ball to left-handed pitchers. But again, that was, naturally, as a young starting pitcher, you're going to have some sort of troubles. Obviously, with McLean, we just saw him come up last year, and he was, basically lights out from his first start to the last start. Obviously, like we've talked about many of times here, I was not really too concerned with his this cold streak throughout this year, just because, again, we know that all these young starters, eventually you're going to hit a bump in the road. It's just all about how you recover from that rough stretch and what type of adjustments you do make. And from Noel McLean's point of view right now, he's made a hell of a lot of adjustments. He's gotten his confidence back. And I mean, again, like, I didn't watch any of yesterday's game, but I looked at the numbers and McLean's strikeout numbers. I mean, 10 strikeouts, 6 scoreless innings. Like, that's exactly what you want to see from a guy that, technically, when you look at the future, could be the ace pitcher of the staff. Again, I don't want to put that much pressure on him, but we know that he at least has the talent and he's capable of having it. But like I said, with Scott, with Thornton, it's just nice to have for now, like you said, at least 3 of the 5 days, with guys being reliable, because we've had enough with some of these other guys like Minaya, who's had injury problems. Montas last year, who the Mets signed, he came into training camp as a fat ass and got injured and basically missed the whole season. Kodai Senga, who has a vagina and can't stay healthy for more than 5 minutes. Obviously, there are a couple of other guys out there too, but, again, you want stability, and you want at least guys in your rotation that you could trust to go and take the ball every 5 days. And listen, I'm not saying it's a guarantee with all these guys that they're going to pan out and they're going to be elite, starting pitchers at the major league level. But at least, with like Thornton and Scott, if you could get, 2 quality mid to back end guys, and then McLean could end up stepping up and being your top end guy, well, guess what? Now that's a lot of money that you're saving on your rotation that you could go and choose to spend money elsewhere on the team. So like we've been saying, it's nice to just have these 3 guys that we know are going to go out there consistently and perform at a good rate.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens going forward with them, because, again, these are young guys. Things can go haywire. They can struggle. That's just basically it. But it is nice to see them kind of grab their footing the way that they have, because, again, these guys were going out there and giving you volume, things that we have really, really struggled with a lot of these veterans that were supposed to come in here and give us quality outings the way that they have. The thing that I will just say here is, I want everyone to kind of pump the brakes, obviously, with the way that they are kind of establishing them. Oh, well, these guys are 100% going to be in our rotation. Oh, this guy's going to be a number 3. This guy's like, let's just let these guys throw pitches. Let's let these guys go start to start, develop in the major leagues. Their last stage of development, let them continue on the way that they have, because, again, I am not trying to put the stake of the fate of the universe on the line to young pitchers, because we already saw how of the old generation 10 years ago. I mean, it's been 10 years since that World Series team. We kind of, and again, this is not the same thing, but again, the way that they did rely on those young arms considerably, and a majority of the time they couldn't really handle it. They really couldn't handle that pressure, and we all know what kind of happened with that aftermath. I mean, Andrew, we remember this, right? I mean, the whole stuff with Matt Harvey, the just very sad fall off. The Noah Syndergaard fall off too.
Mats,
that was brutal. Matt's with his mental makeup. I mean, we know how it really came up and built up and it gave us so much hope, and then it just crashed and burned the way that it did. So hopefully they can just keep it more fluid, right? They just keep it more fluent and just let them go pitch to pitch, start to start, and let them figure it out, right? Try to learn from the mistakes. Let's just say that. And again, that's a different regime, but try to learn from those mistakes. Well, hopefully, because I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, well, the emergence of McLean and the emergence of Scott and Thornton, all these great young pitchers who possibly could be good for us. How could the Mets find a way to fuck it up? Because I know that question's in the back of my mind. And Andrew, I know that it probably is for you too, considering what we have seen in the past. Things don't last that long here in Queens.
And obviously it comes with the good position, because again, you can say, oh, you can be on the top of the world, we talk about Harvey, Syndergaard, and then in 2 years you're throwing 89 miles an hour and you're working at a come and go gas station in 2 years. I mean, it's pitchers. They are the most fickle. They're not real. Again, you can say
rotations don't exist. I'm telling you.
You can have 5 good starters. I mean, well, the Dodgers and the Phillies have. Besides, the Phillies only have 4 starters. Besides the point. But yeah, again, you could look pretty on paper. Starting rotations are made of paper, so it could be well, I got 1 through 4 or whatever. It looks pretty. 1 through 5. The Dodgers have 12 guys. Their whole AAA team is literally just their major league, half of their major league rotation. So if you can get to that point, yeah, I mean, it's nice to have some cheap depth, like we talk about it. It's great to have, but again, it's Clay Holmes, one line drive back to the foot, back up the middle, boom, you break your dude's foot and you're gone for 2 months. That's the element of the position that they play, and then obviously the arm injuries. A guy's throwing 100, or a guy's trying to get a crazy spin. In McLean's case, all it takes is just one pitch, boom, and then he's never the same again. I mean, it's just how it is. So we can get all excited and say, "Oh, this looks great on paper." It's pitching. It's not real. It's a figment of our imagination. It's literally the salad of the team. You don't like it. Most of the time, it's not there, but it's okay.
Salad's not food. It comes with the food.
Exactly. It comes
exactly. All right. United fans of baseball saying they did not see you guys live last night. We weren't live last night. We were not live for the first game and the third game of that Phillies series. If this team, again, like we have been saying on the show, if this team was a little bit better, we probably would make an even more extra effort to go live. But it's more of just if our schedules can bear for them. But either way, we will be live for all three watch-alongs, or expect to be live for all three watch-alongs for this Brewers series. Either way, let's put a bow on this series and get into afterwards get into the brass tacks, as the kids like to say, right? With studs and duds. One player that was good in this series, one that was bad. Now, you guys already exposed yourself as fake fans and said, oh, I didn't watch anything of this series. So if you just want to go off by scoreboard watching, by Blue Teamer scoreboard watching, Matt, I'll start with you with a stud in this series. We already pointed out two, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how he did the last two games because I had to watch, but Alvarez had two home runs in the first game of the series. Again, I'm not sure what he didn't even play the game yesterday. I'm not sure how he did in the second game, but yeah, Alvarez again. I know there's been trade rumors around him, rightfully so, because he really hasn't taken that next step like we all expected him to. Again, not saying I want to trade Alvarez, but for the right package, possibly there could be some conversations. But again, hit two home runs in that first game, so I'll give it to Alvarez.
Yeah, Alvarez had a costly throwing error in the second game of this series that pretty much led to the explosion. But that's basically all we have really seen from Alvarez. But Alvarez actually has been hitting well since he came back from the injured list. To be honest, that's not really the biggest problem that I have with him. We've already talked about it, and that being the big thing being his defense. But yeah, I mean it's fair enough. Andrew, you want to pick one of the arms? You could.
Oh no, I ain't got time to do pitching. And like I said, they're not real. So I care about offense. And when you hit a fat nuke with a co-host of this podcast in the building and get multiple hits,
I'm gonna go get my water.
It's Brett Beatty. I mean, did you not see that high fastball that he hit so damn far? I think that ball hasn't landed yet. No, I mean, it's Brett Beatty. Again, it makes Carson cry. So every time it's either me or Carson are in the building, Brett Beatty becomes Barry Bonds. It's funny as shit.
I've seen him homer live like 3 times.
So it's Mets. Anytime a Mets Weekly co-host is in, Brett Beatty
in right center field off of the most cooked arm in Aaron Nola. He's back.
She wanna go viral.
He goes viral. But yeah, of course. Again, you can go boring into the pitchers, the lettuce of people. I don't care about pitching. Hit home runs. I mean, there could be another guy, but we'll talk about him later. But yeah, give Brett Beatty some love. 1950 game hitting streak.
No.
What a goat. OPS is now over 620.
That's not true.
I mean, batting average.
OPS is still in the bottom 10. No,
it's almost off that graphic. Almost.
Nope, still in the bottom 10. Do not take the propaganda. Guys, stay strong. Don't you dare fall for it again. Stop it. Enough. No more. Stop it. McLean and Scott, I mean, we can obviously put in that, but also someone who actually had a really, really good series. AJ Ewing was pretty good in this series as well. He did have one miscue in center field, but other than that, at the plate, drew a couple of walks. He had a response to the solo home run off of Luke Weaver, which, again, I got to see live. But again, AJ Ewing proving his worth, and it should be interesting with the certain someone who's coming off the injured list today of what the playing time is going to look like for the next 2 weeks. And we will get into the next 2 weeks in a second, but first with the dud category. Listen, again, for you guys not getting into the full nitty-gritty of this game, and you guys didn't really watch as much of it, and to be honest, I don't blame you. Marcus Simeon's the dud of this series.
Yes.
Firsthand comes off of the injured list, and to be honest, he didn't even play all 3 of these games. Second game of the series, drops a double play ball up the middle. Obviously, we know that we've had some mental mistakes from Lindor, but we've also had a lot of mental mistakes from Marcus Semien, so basically showing us exactly what we've been missing. And I'm pretty sure goes hitless in this series. I mean, this guy is so cooked and burnt beyond belief. Do I like to hold on to the hope that maybe the guy has just been so banged up recently in the last calendar year, and then he'll just be able to return to a little bit of form? Sure. Is that basically just because of my bias of my love for Marcus Semien? Yeah. But, yeah, he's cooked. This dude sucks now. He's arguably the worst player on the team right now. And it sucks to say that, to be honest, because a few years ago, this was one of the best second basemen in all of baseball. One of. But hey, whatever. If there's anybody else you guys want to shout out,
because he gave up a homer and he broke up his shutout streak.
Yes.
So what a bum, losing his trade value. Same thing with Minter.
Minter
Both
did the
of
same
them.
thing.
Exactly.
Minter did
Both
the same
of them
thing.
losing trade value. What an asshole. I think
Matt, anyone you want to
Nah.
ridicule?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, there is that. So let's get into the actual meat of this podcast. Big meat of it. That being the fact that we have a trade deadline that's 2 weeks away, and we have been getting pretty much a lot of different reports that have been coming out ever since this one main report dropped, and that being about the Mets possibly selling. This basically dropped in like the second inning of the first game of this series in Philly. Read it on my phone when I saw it. And this came from SNY insider Chelsea Janes. She said that basically put it out on SNY saying that according to a rival executive, the Mets have informed teams that everyone except Juan Soto, Carson Bench, AJ Ewing, Christian Scott, and Noel McLean is available. That doesn't mean that everyone is traded, but the Mets are prepared to listen to nearly the entire roster as they begin shaping the team. The most likely trade candidates remain players on expiring deals, including Brooks Raley, AJ Minter, Freddie Peralta, and Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver, Huskar Brazaban, Francisco Alvarez, Luis Torrens, Brett Beatty, and Ronnie Mauricio could also draw interest. The Mets are expected to spread out their sell-off rather than wait until the trade deadline, hoping to maximize their returns while the market develops. And then there was a little bit of a blurb at the end of there where we are actually going to push off to the end because we all know that is the big topic of discussion as of right now. But at the moment, we are actually going to kind of sort this from a certain position to, I think, again, of how the Mets are going to sell this off. Basically, we're going to do this from the perspective of more of, I think, again, depends on where we go. I want to go from the perspective of the reports that we've been getting, the information that we've been getting. We can basically, right now I want to just push off the fact that, yes, we could have a lockout next year, and maybe a lot of things matter to that type of factor. Yes, that could. But for now, we're going to treat it as, yes, maybe we have baseball right now, next year in 2027, possibly. And then also basically off of the reports of the overview of what has been reported. So, I don't, again, this is not based off of what we would do because there's about 80% of this roster I would toss in a dumpster right now. But here it is. We have 5 tiers right here to sort in about, I think, 34 players that are here, something around there on the 40-man roster. First one is good as gone. According to the reports, pretty much what we are expecting of what the market would look like. We'll break all of that down. Then we have should be or please go away. So should be traded, or a little bit opinionated, saying, please kindly fuck off. Phones are open, meaning that you would trade him if you get the right offer, likely staying, whether it's for a good reason or a bad reason, and then going nowhere, which is basically just the 5 that were listed in that report from Chelsea Janes, which again, we could probably fill that in right now. So that was what? McLean, Scott,
Ewing.
Where's Ewing? There's Ewing.
Bench.
And
Soto.
then Soto. Why are we not trading Soto? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Either way. Okay. I guess we can start from left to right. I think this is about like 30 of these guys. We'll just go as opinionated as we can. I don't know. Again, we'll figure it out. We'll figure the flow out. We start with Sean Manaea. Now, listen, Manaea, this is a weird one because, again, he is signed for next year, $25 million. He returned back to the rotation. Maybe he is seen as a back-end piece last year, very expensive back-end piece. Andrew, I mean, I want to listen to offers on Sean Manaea. I just have a very strong feeling that he's going to end up being on this team after the trade deadline, considering the situation that we are in with either his contract or maybe just the market. Nobody really wants to take it on.
He's pitched better, which has brought up his value substantially for what it was. The phones are open. I think, again, with the money isn't a big deal. Again, we see what the market is. The market for back-end starters is $20 million. He's making 25. If you have to send $8 million in cash, you send $8 million in cash if you can get an offer. I think the phones are open. Again, I think there's teams that if you don't get, it looks like Skubal's not going nowhere, so I take Skubal off the table. I think obviously teams are going to call about Peralta and Holmes. If the Mets are smart, they would start getting them out of here because Sean Manaea could be a definite August 3rd, last second, all the other options are gone. Okay, good, and we'll take Sean Manaea because, again, he can be somebody's 4, and if the Mets are willing to chop up a little bit of change for that next year, you can move him, especially with him pitching better. And, again, we'll see the next 2 weeks. He continues to pitch solidly, didn't pitch great in Philadelphia, obviously, coming off a start. But overall, he's pitched a lot better than what he did in the first half. So I do think teams are going to be interesting because, again, teams always need starting pitching. And, again, if the Mets were smart, they would start shipping out Holmes and Peralta because once we get closer to deadlines, again, deadlines make people get stupid. Someone would be, especially if Holmes and Peralta off the board already, someone could come to you to look at Manaea and say, okay, there's the only guy on the market. Here's a B-level prospect, and if you give me a little bit of money, boom, it's for Sean Manaea.
Yeah. I mean, it could be somewhat similar. I don't know, because, like, kind of what happened with Blackburn. Issue.
It's similar. It's some more expensive, but again, and we've seen Dominic Leone. Again, we go back to horrific. Like they got somebody for Dominic Leone because they got him right before the deadline. The deadline caused stupidity from GMs, and again, as I said, if the Mets are smart, they need to trade Holmes and Peralta, not just wait till August 3rd. Okay, everybody's gone, and then no, if you because you really control the market because really again, like there's not a lot of sellers.
You do. Like we already said,
If we can get rid of Peralta, not like tomorrow, but like you trade Peralta, let's say on the 28th, you trade Clay Holmes on the 1st, okay, you go to deadline day, someone who doesn't get, let's say, if Joe Ryan or let's say, who else would be on the market? The Rockies don't got no money. I think who else is even available? It's about, let's say, Joe Ryan or someone and just need a depth. And if somebody gets injured, boom, you get a quick pivot. So I think you're open, the phones are open, but we'll see. You know, I don't think he's going to be gone. It's just, I think it's 40-60 he stays, but I think if some team gets aggressive with a pitching injury, I think Manaea could be moved.
Yeah, I mean, again, you also have a very top-heavy pitching market on the free agency afterwards. Again, you don't know what's going to happen with 2027. I mean, Matt, do you agree with that basically the phones are pretty much open? Or are you just like, he probably just stays because nobody wants him?
To me, I'm at the point where the phone should be open because I think if you're the Mets And listen, for Manaea, he has pitched a bit better, because if this was Manaea towards the back end of last year and the start of this year, there would absolutely be no shot that the Mets would be able to move on from him. There's a little bit better of a shot now, considering that, again, he's pitched a little bit better. He has recouped a little bit of his value. And like I said, for me, the phones would be open. I would be looking to try and trade him. I just don't know if there is going to be one team that will be willing to step up, take on a portion of his money, and then trade some assets. So I lean towards that he's likely staying, but the phones are definitely open. But I think ultimately at the end of the trade deadline, he will still be a Met.
Yeah, I again, if he were to get traded, I'm going to say it's probably more of an off-season thing, to be honest, considering the market of what guys are going to be looking at. Like, I probably would put him in likely staying, but again, the phones could be open. And to be honest, he could have one more start where it's just god-awful, because it's just been like that for him, where you just say, oh, yeah, please go away. Like, just go away. Like, because, again, we do have open spots in that rotation, like we were already talking about with McLean and Scott, and possibly maybe Thornton is there. And he's already, again, Thornton's been said that, he's going to be here for the rest of the year by Andy Green. So you still have spots open in that rotation. I wouldn't be surprised if he's here next year. I really would not be surprised. But at some point between the end of it, between the time when his contract expires, I do think he will not be a Met. Like, the contract will still be going by the time, he is out of here. Like, it's not just he's going to leave in free agency after the end of next year. Okay, AJ Minter.
Lefty killer flame machine, big boom AJ. You know what I mean.
Now, if you do not watch our watch-along streams and you're listening to us on audio, that's the intro for Minter, or part of his AI song. But either way, Minter, I think we could all agree, is good as gone. Like, he is not coming back, and he will be traded within the next 2 weeks. Who knows how long he has left with the Mets, but I do want to shout out Minter for a second, because there was a quote that he put out to Max Goodman, and I'm not going to reiterate it completely, but for the full crux of it, basically saying that I want to go out there, keep shoving, and hopefully I can get them a nice little prospect back, because he basically said, kind of apologizing to Mets fans, saying, I'm sorry that I got injured. I'm sorry that this all didn't go well and it all went haywire. So you know what, guys? Listen, we've already talked about it. AJ Minter's a real dude. All right. He's a real guy. All right. He's a real one. And listen, I hate that this went the direction that it went. I love Minter. But I think we all know that he is pretty much good as gone. Matt?
Yeah, listen, we all love AJ Minter here on the Mets Weekly show, but yeah, listen, you just hope that he keeps on performing well. Obviously, he gave up the run in the was it either yesterday or was 2 days ago? Yeah, yesterday. But I mean, listen, he's been injured for part of his tenure here as a Met. Only signed that 2-year deal back 2 off seasons ago, but for the most part, he's been really solid. Every time pretty much he goes out there, he's stable. He's able to get the 3 outs. Has a couple of, one-off blow-ups here and here. But like I said, for the most part, he's been a really good Met. It's going to suck to see him go. But listen, you hope that the Mets get a nice asset for him. And then hopefully maybe, in the offseason, maybe he does come back and re-signs. Who knows? That is a possibility.
Yeah. Some more of that quote saying, me being injured, I was the main reason. He said, I fully expected when I signed here to compete and go to the postseason every year. Me being injured, I was part of the reason for it, so it's definitely tough. You weren't the reason for it, King. We love you, all right? We love you, AJ. Andrew, anything you want to add on AJ Minter? I mean, this is the big boom guy. Like, he big booms every time he comes out to the mound. Injury-riddled tenure.
Yeah, and again, it sucks, and he pitched pretty well before he got injured, and then he gets injured all last year. And he's been very solid. Again, we'll see what happens. Who get there again? There'll be teams that want him. A lot of teams need left-handed relievers. And again, the Mets, he's not making a lot. We'll see again. he's like, oh, we'll get a decent piece for you, hopefully. Again, and Stearns, has to do his job and hopefully get something decent. And again, there's a few teams and a couple that have already been mentioned in the chat that would probably be best place for him. But again, you never know. Everybody needs bullpen this time of year, special contender. So again, there'll hopefully be a semi-bidding war. You're not going to get a generational piece, but again, every piece right now the Mets need to move forward for next year.
Yeah, considering the buyer's market that it's probably going to end up being, and the Mets obviously will have plenty of pieces to auction off. Again, there's another factor of, everybody needs the left-handed relievers. Could he be somebody that they can pitch from the left side? And, AJ Minter, one of the biggest specialists for him is that he can pitch to right-handed hitters and left-handed hitters. And that's the main reason as to why the Mets went big boom for him with $11 million a year for two separate seasons. You have Aroldis Chapman, who likely will be off the market with the Red Sox pretty much putting themselves back into the race. So that could vary his market as well. So, hey, we will see what goes on there. But either way, AJ, we appreciate your service here, even though it was short-lived and you got banged up. But, hey, not everything has a happy ending. Speaking of not happy ending or not happy recently, it's been a struggle for him. Tobias Myers is an interesting one because, again, he came here along with Freddie Peralta in the deal with Milwaukee that sent Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat out of here. Now, there is one thing I do want to point out. He does have a lot of years of control, and I do think that he's likely going to end up staying. Andrew, we know that there are some bullpen pieces that, again, are going to be traded off. I don't think Myers is going to be one of those because he has options, and he also has years of control. It's been a struggle for him. And then also, you just never know. He could be somebody who could swing man being a starter if he's actually fully stretched out. So, Andrew, I don't know if anybody's really going to be knocking on our door for a struggling Tobias Myers.
Yeah, I think he's staying because, again, like you said, the Mets do need to have somebody there. And again, he has not pitched well, and the Mets have kind of abused where he doesn't know what the hell role he's in. They've really not done him any favors, nor has he done any favors for them being on the field. But again, I think he's just here fodder on the 40-man for the rest of the season, and we'll see what with a full off season in the organization, we'll see if they decide you're a starter or you're a reliever and stop flopping every 2 seconds like a fish for what his role is going to be.
Yeah. Matt, anything else on Myers? I think it's pretty much standstill.
Listen, Myers is not going anywhere. Again, because of how bad he struggled this year, like you said, Carson, we don't anticipate any teams coming to knock on the door or calling the phone to David Stearns to try to trade for him. Listen, the Mets going to keep him, and there's multiple reasons why. One, versatile. He can be either a starter or a reliever. But piggybacking off what Andrew said, I think, it definitely hasn't helped Myers in that basically every 2 weeks he's going in between being a starting pitcher and then being a reliever. Eventually one of these days they're going to have to find some sort of stability with Myers and determine what type of player he's going to be, whether that is starter or whether that is reliever. And second of all, it's the fact that he has 3 more years of control left as well before he even hits free agency. So, again, in modern day Major League Baseball, we've seen that you need arms, and you need arms at least, locked up for cheap as well. And at least for Tobias Myers, that's what he at least has shown. Obviously, like we said, he struggled for majority of this year, but if the Mets can get him up to what he was, last year with the Brewers, or even at the start of this year, because to start the year, he was really good with the Mets, but like you said, because of that up and down nature of his season this year, he just, hasn't been able to find any sort of stability. But, yeah, Myers is not going anywhere for me.
All right. Well, then we also have his trading mate, Freddie Peralta. Expiring free agent. He's out of here. There's no way he is going to survive August 3rd. We've had some reports come out that maybe the Brewers are actually interested in trading for him back. We've seen the Cubs linked to him a few times. I mean, for the last few This could be someone who you buy low in the middle of your rotation if you have the top of your rotation. That makes sense a lot for a team like the Brewers, who, again, right now, their rotation is looking, their rotation's looking really, really good. And again, they're one of the best in baseball. And to be honest, if they do make a deep run, which they usually don't, it's going to be on the power of their pitching. They have their game one starter who's actually going tonight against the Mets. So if you were to talk about a guy like Freddie Peralta in that 3 or 4 role, starting game 3 or game 4 for you, a team that is contending is going to look for that. I also would not, again, talking about the markets of these teams, and I'll swing it over to Andrew with this one, I also would not rule out the White Sox for this one because they have been very vocal about possibly acquiring starting pitching. And I also would not rule out our crosstown rival, the Yankees, possibly knocking on the door with that, with the fact that they do have a decent amount of injuries in that rotation, if I don't remember so. I mean, again, they have Cole back. They know Rodon. I don't think they have do they have a timeline on him, or is he back yet?
No,
I don't know.
Not yet. I don't think there's a timeline on him. Schlittler's obviously there.
Yeah, Schlittler's going to probably pitch game 1 for them. So, there's some uncertainty there. We know Max Fried is out for a decent amount of time.
And he's rehabbing the other day.
Yeah, so again, there's uncertainty there.
Yeah.
That's another team. Andrew, if there's anybody else you would put out on there, a lot of the central teams, I think, could be in that mix.
Yeah, Tampa Bay would be the only non-central team I think I've seen. There's been some connection. I mean, again, the Dodgers are always lumbering, which again, they could always use another friggin' arm, but I'm not saying that's real. But I think Rays, Brewers, Cubs. I'd like to see maybe. Be funny if Baltimore got involved. That'd be kind of funny. They need some extra pitching depth behind Bradish and Young, so maybe if they're getting back, they're somewhat back in the race. So I mean, I still obviously the main 3: Tampa Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago. Again, all it takes is one big team's injury to a top end of the rotation guy for a team to get into the market. So I would have said San Diego before their absolute implosion, which also could hurt the Mets a little bit because, and yes, we think, we're hoarding, Minter and Raley. If the Padres sell, Adrian Morejon is better than both of the guys we got. So we would no longer have the best lefty on the market if San Diego does decide to blow it up. Obviously, Mason Miller would throw out another guy we'll talk about later. Would bury one of our guys. So it depends what Preller does in San Diego. But again, as of right now, again, they have the market. And again, Peralta starting pitching like we talked about. Starting pitching. Everyone needs starting pitching. There could be a wild card like the White Sox. Again, the White Sox have had interest in Clay Holmes. They'd probably be in this conversation too. So you got 4 teams who could expand to 10 once we get to deadline day.
Yeah. Anyways, Matt, Freddie, disappointing. We expected a lot more. Again, we've had the discussion. He's not an ace. He's a 2 at best. Everybody kind of expected that because, again, to be honest, rooting back to it, I was trying to do some research of what was being said about him in the media when they traded for him, and it seems like our pal, the Glizzy Gladiator, Mr. Skeet Gelbs, was really tooting the horn, saying, "Hey, this is an ace that you cannot you cannot miss or whatever. This is a bona fide ace for their rotation." So maybe that was basically what pushed fans to say, hey, this guy is going to be an ace for us, and he has to be an ace for us. But he's not. He just isn't. And to be honest, Andrew, I think you said this before even the season started. It's like, this guy is not a number 1. He will sometimes struggle to go through 5 innings and pitch into the 6th. And that's basically what you have seen, but even worse, to be honest. He's been worse than what he's been throughout his career. So, Matt, again, we already talked about the market and whatever. There's already been stuff like that before, but it's like, he's gone. We know he's gone.
I've been done with him for the last maybe month and a half now. I tried to give him as much time as possible to come and adjust to, pitching here with the Mets in New York, but it's clear that it's not going to work out here. It is what it is. Listen, again, when you look back at the trade, the Mets really didn't give up too much, even though, Mets fans will still claim that Jet Williams will be the second coming of Jose Altuve, but, his AAA numbers speak otherwise. And obviously, I like Brandon Sproat, but, he's a third starter at best at the end of the day. So again, I'm not sitting here crying about it. It more so sucks that we had high expectations for him to come in here to be a top end starter for us and fell flat on his face. And there were just too many uncompetitive starts where he's throwing way too many pitches within the first 4 innings. And, we couldn't even, there was plenty of starts this year where you couldn't even get through 5 innings. And here, we were looking for him to at least be a consistent 6-inning starter. So, listen, there's going to be, plenty of interest for him, like you've been saying, with a couple of the Central teams. The Rays also might be a team. The Orioles, again, depending on if they can fully get back into a playoff race. But, I mean, at least the only good piece of news that we've heard over the last couple of weeks is that even though Peralta hasn't pitched well here, that his market hasn't been hampered too much. So the Mets, or at least insiders, are anticipating that the Mets should still get a good return for him. So I'm hoping they can at least recoup something, on what they originally traded for him. But, yeah, he's fully gone for me, Freddie Peralta.
Yeah, there's also one other team I want to point out before we even get into it, because they have had a decent amount of starting pitching injuries, and to be honest, it's probably unlikely. Again, I don't know if they're anywhere healthy, but they've had a decent amount of their depth go down. I think they're using a 4-man rotation right now. The Marlins could be a team that could be interested in that as well, but again, division tax, and again, we're too prideful right now. That we can't trade within our division. It's kind of like trading a certain bread man to the Islanders because you can't do that. We have too much pride. Cionel Perez, I have him here mainly because of the conversation like you just mentioned, Andrew. Because of Dominic Leone, guys like that, like those low end mop up guys who end up getting auctioned off at the end. I think, like collectively, like the phones are open. If he stays, I don't give a shit, to be honest. A second lefty in your pen, whatever. I think that he had some good outings, but he also had some really bad blow-ups for this team. And he stuck around for a while, basically eating innings that guys like Freddie Peralta have left on the table, or guys like Sean Manaea have left on the table. And even when he was here, guys like David Peterson, who sucks balls, left on the table. That is not great out of context, what I just said. But
Ibby, clip it, please, if he's here.
Ibby's not here.
He's not here. He's working.
He's gonna do it on playback.
100%.
But yeah, guys, an intellectual conversation about Cionel Perez. You got anything? No? Okay.
If somebody wants to throw a lottery ticket at you, fine. But
if he's, like you said, if he's traded, cool, get something from him. If he stays, it is what it is.
Perez hits 99 from the left side. They should keep him. I mean, I think he's hit it a few times. He is a hard thrower. That could be something from a team that uses tools the way that they do, or it could be some desperate team or whatever that needs a left-handed reliever. We all know that left-handed relievers get employed because they can throw with their left hand and not really just much of, oh, well, this guy is really, really good. But yeah, either way, I don't have the soundbite here.
Goodbye.
Speaking of good lefty relievers, Brooks Raley, good as gone. I wish it didn't end like that. To be honest, I would extend Brooks Raley for 8 more years if I could.
90.
The man is a left-handed patriot.
4 more years.
He stands for the flag.
There you go. 4 years.
I'm really gonna miss him. I really will. But in terms of that market, salute to Brooks Raley. In terms of that market, Andrew, I mean, again, this is going to be the upper echelon in comparison to some of the left-handed. This is going to be the upper echelon compared to Cionel Perez.
I mean, you
compare, or these other guys who are on expiring deals.
Yeah.
This is someone, again, you can put into, someone you can really, really use for a deep playoff run. Another guy just like Minter, who can pitch to left-handed hitters and right-handed hitters. Just a freaking horse. It's all he has been, even through the injuries. 38 years old, almost approaching 38 now. There's going to be a market for Brooks Raley. We'll just, to be honest, I don't even know what exactly that would be. A lot of teams need relievers, and Brooks Raley can really be a Swiss Army knife for any bullpen.
Yeah, I think that somebody brought in the team up in the chat. I've already made bets. He will be a Pittsburgh Pirate. One, makes no money. He's making like $1.5 million. And we already seen Bob Nutting is already. I'm not adding money. So, and the Pirates are, fringe contending for a playoff spot. I think they're in a playoff spot as we speak, in the wild card. But they're the team I think that will add their bullpen. Obviously, Gregory Soto is their only lefty in that bullpen. So that's a good idea, making Gregory Soto and Brooks Raley your two lefties. That worked out so well that time. But again, the price because obviously his number next to his salary only went like 1.5 or whatever that cheap deal. The only good David Stearns lockup deal. Good job, David. Got him real cheap. But yeah, I think he's a Pirate 100%. I think Minter, you get that big market kind of contender is where he goes, and I think Raley, just because of the salary, he's a small market Pirate type deal where a cheap team doesn't have to add a ton of payroll. Because I think, again, prorated the last 45 games. Again, that's more of the Bob Nutting and the smaller market cheap ass owner way.
Yeah, we also did get a report the Mets did push for the number 34 overall compensation pick from the Pirates, and Brooks Raley was in the talks for that, and they ended up going with the package they got from the White Sox. So that could be some fun. But, Matt, I think that, again, with how poor this American League is, it only makes sense to trade him to the Rangers, right? The Texas Rangers? It's just, it only fits well, right? Him and Nimmo can, embrace as great patriots of our nation. And, I don't know.
Red, white, and
There'll
blue
be plenty of
team.
teams out there.
Yeah.
Listen, I love Brooks Raley. We all love Brooks Raley here on this channel. The guy's a patriot, goes out there every single day. Every day he's called upon out of the bullpen. And he's just, he goes out there, he shoves, and like I said, I really have no other words to describe Raley. He's been a very good Met ever since the Mets acquired him back in 2023. Obviously, it sucked, in 2024 he got hurt because, he could have been, especially with how taxed that bullpen was towards the tail end of the Mets playoff run. The Mets surely could have used a left-hander like that in their bullpen, especially going up against a Dodger team like that. But listen, he came back last year, was excellent down the stretch. He's been really good this year. And I hope that the Mets get, a really good return from him at the trade deadline. Like with Andrew, I could see him going to Pittsburgh again. He's cheap. I also heard that he's a big Kyle Dubas guy, so that could help him going to Pittsburgh in his case. So, but yeah, listen. Inevitably, when he is traded, we're gonna hold the flag up high. We're gonna salute our fellow Patriot and play Amazing Grace, and I will cheer for him wherever he goes.
Yeah. Listen, he is just a no-nonsense guy. Again, he rolls up his sleeves. He's a blue-collar man. He does his taxes correctly, all right? The only way to send it off properly is this one.
American through and through, screaming it loud.
Again, like I already said, our watch-alongs are a very fun time because you get to see animations like that. Either way, moving on from a respectable man to someone who has basically been acting like half a man for 3 seasons, Kodai Senga. This is going to be my first. Please go away. I will pay you triple to go away. Please. And to be honest, I think that it's somewhat obvious they're trying to find a way to represent some kind of value here by moving him over to the bullpen. I think that, again, if he ends up leaving, it will be probably in the offseason. We're probably going to still see him rotting in that bullpen for the rest of the season. But again, in terms of innings, in terms of performance, in terms of evaluating this team, I don't need to evaluate anything else. Kodai Senga, get lost. Go away. To be honest, if you can't find a trade for him once the deadline hits, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on August 3rd, DFA him right now. Andrew, and I think you share the same sentiment as me.
I mean, there's an idea that's been, flirting around the internet, and of course it's the internet, who really cares, that maybe you take another bad guy on, which there's an Astros trade potentially proposed, where it's like you take Dominican Christian Javier for Kodai Senga. Like, that's an idea, just bad guy for bad guy, trying to change the scenery. But like you said, if no one's biting, if you can't get some DSL 16-year-old international sign you signed for $5,000 for this guy, just cut him at this point. Like, if you can't get the bare minimum lottery ticket of billion to one odd lottery ticket for this guy, just ship him out of here. He ain't built for New York. Let him go to Kansas or Omaha, Nebraska, and let him get the hell away. No one watches him, and he can go go fix his body quiet. No one can pay attention to him. We have all had enough. Again, we know what he is. Just ship him out of here. Or as soon as that 401 deadline, if we don't see a Will Salmon notification, Kodai Senga has been designated for assignment. That is a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Go away. Joe Saturn saying, why is Senga still here? I wish I could tell you. I really wish I could tell you, because to be honest, it's merit to a full-on point over the last 3 seasons now that it makes more sense to pay this guy double to fuck off than have him on the mound, because he's that pathetic. And Matt, if there's anything else you want to add on, because again, crapping on Senga is really fun. It really is, because he's a loser and he deserves it.
I fucking hate him. I can't stand him.
Yeah.
He sucks. Yeah. Piss back to wherever you come from. Hopefully Godzilla steps on you. Like, I don't give a shit. Fuck off. Go away. Exactly.
He genuinely is the worst. He actually is the worst. Like, from all aspects, genuinely the worst. Senga -0. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care how you get out of here. I don't want to see him on this team any longer.
And even like I don't think he's gonna get traded, because who the fuck wants to take on that mess, especially at $50 million. Like Sid Carson. If he goes to Colorado, cool. He can go fuck off. I don't care.
Exactly.
Let him go play with Nathan McKinnon. I don't care.
Well, yeah.
No, listen. If the Mets can't find a trade partner for him, just DFA him, because there's no reason for him to be on the roster.
Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous that he's here, because he's going to just take innings away from the evaluation you're going to probably do for the rest of the season. Like, I would like to see Jack Wenninger up here, or I'd like to see young pieces up here make their debut. And again, that's going to take innings away from him. Yes, I know he's moved to the bullpen, but he's pathetic. He's borderline pathetic. Not borderline, full-on pathetic. Speaking of not pathetic, though, Zach Thornton is going to stay.
Yep.
Likely, you could probably say going nowhere, because his career just started.
Yeah.
And it's already been said he's going to be in the rotation for the rest of the year. We already have Saturn saying keep Thornton. I agree. The kid's got balls. All right, the kid's got balls. He does. I love how he attacks hitters. I really do. Again, but he's only made 3 starts. Oh, speaking of some news with Zach Thornton, he dropped the H in his name, so he's now ZAC. Andrew, what do you think about that? Give me a full
He's like Cheeto Bear.
Trade him
He's
now.
like Cheeto Bear.
Trade his ass right now. That's stupid. I'm dropping the H. Bro, go to Wyoming. Get out of here. Sure, cool.
Yeah. I mean, listen, hey. I don't know. I think I have the H on the preview graphic for the Brewers series. Yeah. That'll be the last time I put that there. Okay, I promise to Zach Thornton and to all the Zach Thornton fans, I will not make that mistake ever again. Nice. Either way, Jonah Tong. It's already been reported that he's likely going to be staying. Andrew, I mean, it's been disappointing. We know, especially in the minor leagues, it's been disappointing for him. It's possible the kid doesn't have it, but I think that they're probably going to continue to give rope and give him a chance, because, again, he's younger in comparison to these guys like McLean or Scott. Scott's 26, right? Mm-hmm. McLean is 24? About to turn 25, I think. And then Tong is like
22.
he just started legally being able to drink. So like he's young. He blossomed through the system, right? He freaking shot up. And I think they're going to continue to give him another year.
Sure. I mean, they likely yeah, but if there was a certain pitcher that potentially is on the market that we don't know if it's on the market. We've seen some reports, but like you have to make at least a phone call because that would be a trade for the future, and that being a certain guy in Cincinnati who potentially might be available. Maybe he's available, maybe not. And if they're like, oh, here's Jonah, we want Jonah Tong for Hunter Green, yeah, bye. Go click your Yu-Gi-Oh cards in Cincinnati. Like, it's okay. Like, he's a great dude. He's a kid. He's fun.
We're not just gonna give him away though. That's
exactly.
the thing,
it has to be for something big. Could have been Mason Miller, but but no, it's okay. We'll keep him. Yeah. Again, we'll see. Again, if he can't develop a third pitch, he's probably just a reliever, and that just sucks for a guy who had one of the better minor league seasons last year before getting called up, and just to see it be if he's just a reliever, it's disappointing. But again, you always you need arms, so it's fine.
But I will say, in hindsight, like an overall value, if he ends up being a reliever, like this is like what a 9th round talent, like. He shot up. He had some helium, right? He had a lot of helium last year. He shot up through the minor leagues, pitched in AAA, made his debut. Didn't go well. We'll see what happens, but I think they're going to continue on. Austin Warren is injured, but again, I think he's likely going to stay. Reliever with control.
I mean, you could put him in the same with Perez. If somebody calls you and wants something for him, you take him. The same thing for me.
I think Austin Warren's at least has probably a higher role in this bullpen in comparison to a guy like Perez. Like, you could probably go middle innings with a guy like
You could easily see him get DFA'd. Knowing how this Stern, he could be DFA'd in 2 weeks. Like, again, I think it's...
I don't think that's going to happen.
He's a whatever. It's a bullpen. It's a...
Okay.
I'm not...
But yeah. Devin Williams. This is an interesting one. We haven't heard much about him. It looks like they're going to listen on him because, again, this is one of those 5. Not one of those 5. He's signed for 2 more seasons. It hasn't been the best for him. Underlying wise, they probably still believe that he could be the closer of this team. I more see him as an 8th inning guy as to why I think they should probably look for another closer in free agency if they so play in 2027. Andrew, again, this is also something you could possibly take advantage of with a guy like Aroldis Chapman coming off of the market with the Red Sox possibly buying. I don't know who else might be available in competition.
Well, but if whatever Preller does, that'd be the only. That's the wrench that could throw everything. It's what Preller does, but I think the phones are open. I'd lean more likely staying than he's getting traded, but I think you can listen.
Yeah.
Putting him in phones are open just to see if somebody wows you. I think if anyone bites, take it just to get out of the contract at this point. But like I said, he's not a closer; he's a setup guy, and then this is now 2 years in a row of this just mercurial sucking in New York, and maybe he's just one of these guys that cannot do well in New York. And again, he could sign with like the Royals in 2 years, and he goes back to being a productive closer. Like, it's just some guys aren't built here. He built for New York, and it sucks because of course David Stern's like saw that like he pitched in New York and shucked. But how about we put a Met uniform on? And he doubled down, and he got burnt. So, if somebody wants him, by all means, I'm all willing to talk. I would say he's likely staying because that contract is just kind of bad for a reliever. But again, especially how needy bullpen arms are, if, a Dodgers want to call you, and if they want to take on the contract and give you like a back half 30 prospect for him, take them, just get out of the money.
Yeah. All right, well, Matt, I mean... Devin Williams again, if they're looking to compete for 2027 next year, again, closer is a position you have to obviously lock down. It's a weird situation as of right now, but I mean, you have to listen. You have to. personally, I think he's likely going to stay. Like, I just don't think that market is going to heat up to where they're like, oh, I need him. To be honest, with Williams, the best situation, I would say, if there's a team that needs a back-end guy that's not going to be your closer, maybe a team like Seattle needs like an eighth-inning guy. Because Munoz has started to at least pick it up again. Yeah. And he's obviously their closer. But, I mean, Matt, you got to listen, right? I mean, you have to. There's just no way you can't. I just don't think you're going to get much to bite, especially in the current situation he's in.
Oh, listen, you have to listen 100%. You know, if you don't listen, that's just negligence on your part because, you know, what if there is that one desperate team that comes in there is like, oh, you know, we really need an eighth inning guy. Maybe, you know, they just get so desperate to the fact that they look at, okay, Devin Williams is closed before an elite level. Let's maybe take a flyer on him. He's coming to a smaller market, and maybe we can find, or, you know, we can make some adjustments with his repertoire, and he could go back to, you know, that 2020, 2021 Milwaukee Brewers Devin Williams type pitcher. I just don't see him getting moved. One, Stern signed him a 3-year deal. He took the risk on him, especially with him coming in to replace Edwin Diaz. I think it's going to have to take a decent offer for him to be willing to let go of Devin Williams. Second of all, because after this year, he has 2 more years left on that contract. I just don't see a team that's willing to trade for him and then wants to take on that entire contract. I think the other team trading for him would want the Mets to at least eat something, and I just don't see the Mets wanting to eat money on a 2-year deal where he's not even pitching for this team. I know we saw it in 2023. Cohen was willing to do it with both Scherzer and Verlander, and Scherzer, you know, had what's it called? Because Scherzer had the extra year on his contract. Same with Verlander, but obviously we've heard reports that Cohen doesn't want to eat money like he did in 2023. So I just don't see him going anywhere. I think he's going to stay.
All right, Andrew.
There's one team.
I don't know if you're thinking the same thing as me. Again, another team that could possibly need a setup guy after a guy is, you know, a guy who's kind of broken out as their closer in Riley O'Brien.
Oh no, I'm not. That Cardinals not touching that. That's too much.
Cardinals not touching that.
Cardinals they're not buying for. First of all, they're not buying.
Didn't they?
And 2, they're
They're
not.
not going to buy.
They're not buying.
What
they're
are they?
stay,
5 games over 500.
They're standing. Rosenthal's already said they're standing pat. And
okay.
And Heim's not doing.
Okay.
No, there is a dumb team. There is a dumb team that could use a closer / setup guy who Stearns has already made a trade with about bad money. I think you call Texas. I think that'd be the only team that would take on most of that deal because they're trying in that Fugazi American League West to try to compete. And they,
the American League,
mean? Exactly. So I think if there's one team that would be desperate enough to try to add a high leverage arm, and obviously Stearns has already had some connections with Chris Young, I think that'd be the only team I could see be like, get him out of the National League, get him out of New York, in the Fugazi American League West. Maybe we get more of that quiet, back to the semi-decent Devin Williams. I think that's the only team I could see Devin Williams being like, that's the guy we need. But I think
there's also a team. There's also a team that lost their closer because of gambling.
That gets too much money. That's way too much. Again, you're thinking small market. You got the teams spend money. The Guardians and Cardinals don't spend money.
Teams that are dumb.
You got to think dumb and spend money. Texas. Again, the Cardinals and Guardians don't spend money.
Red Sox, you could put them in the mix if you want to do them.
Yeah, that could make some sense. But
to pair them up with
Whitlock
Chapman,
Chapman,
two Yankees rejects. I don't know if
Devin Williams going from New York to Boston. That's what surely going to work.
That's what I'm saying. He needs to get away from a big market. That's why Texas, in sense, yes, is a big.
Wait, Boston's a big market since when? All right. The mini fridge. Francisco Alvarez. There's been a report from Will Salmon that, it could they could possibly listen to offers. And again, he was not on that top 5 list. But I think that he is going to stay because, again, catching is a premium position. There's not really many options unless you sign somebody in free agency, such as like Ryan Jeffers. Like, that's literally the only guy that would be available. I just don't see that happening. I think that they are still committed to Alvarez being the catcher of this team, probably for another season. I have absolutely no idea. However, this is not a guarantee in my opinion. Like I can't just say, oh, he's the catcher of the future of this team, considering how big of a liability he is defensively, and considering as well where we were already talking about earlier with the young pitching, the catcher-pitcher relationship is extremely important, especially for the development of these guys. And I think guys like, Terrens just offer it better, right? Andrew, we've already talked about Alvarez so much this year. We know that this was a big year for him. Pretty much every year is going to be seen as a big year. He's at least found somewhat of his stride offensively. But he, again, given the expectation, he has been a disappointment. We can all agree. He drives me nuts. You guys always see how much he drives me nuts, especially defensively. I don't see it happening. But again, another guy, you got to at least listen, right? You got to listen.
We got to start moving some of these guys when the phones are open, because phones are open doesn't mean you're getting traded. I think it means the phones are open. Blow me away. That's why they can move Williams and Alvarez up, where it's not like you're not guaranteed you're gone, but like the phones are open. Give me a Godfather offer.
Okay,
and I'll listen.
You know what? I agree with you on that. Even though you have just ridiculous, you have some ridiculous ideas that can bankrupt a civilization, but it is what it is. I mean, Alvarez, we talked about it plenty. Matt, I mean, you got to at least listen. I'm not gonna trade. I don't know if I'm gonna trade him, but you have to listen. You got to ask, hey, what could I get for this guy? The Ninja Turtle.
No, listen. I think again, like what we said with we were just talking about him. Devin Williams. I don't anticipate again that Alvarez is going to get traded, but again, you do have to keep the phones open. You do have to at least be, not like fully looking for a trade, but like I said, you at least have to be, listening, because maybe there is a desperate team that looks at Alvarez and says, okay, you know what, maybe we have a defensive coach here. Let's put him with him. Maybe you could work on his defense. I'm not saying fully fix his defense, because I think. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. We know he has the potential to power bat. He's been hitting a lot better as of lately. We've been seeing a bit more home runs. Obviously, we saw 2 home runs in the first game of the Phillies series. Again, I just think for Stearns, I think he would have to be blown away for an offer or buy an offer for them to trade Alvarez. So, like I said, I just don't see him getting moved. But listen, by all means, at least be open to taking calls on him.
If he was a second baseman, I feel like we would just be like, yeah. But catching position, again, the premium position's up the middle of building your team. And again, Alvarez is 24. Maybe he does improve defensively. Who knows? Absolutely. Who knows? We can't tell the future, right? Even though I can, because, I have certain powers.
Some people.
Yeah.
Some people
know
everything.
And I have certain space lasers as well. But
that one dude.
When it comes to Alvarez, they're probably going to continue on. Like, again, the best of the ass 4, right? As of right now, the best of them. He's probably going to be their starting catcher next year. And hopefully there's improvements made. But again, what has he been recently? Even though he has shown promise, he's been nothing but a cock tease pretty much throughout his entire career since making his debut. So hopefully you see improvement, you see development. Maybe sometimes catchers take a little bit of time. Speaking of catchers, we also have Luis Terrens. I think he's staying because they just extended him. And then also it comes to a point, it's just like, okay, who else are you going to say? Oh, Hayden Sanger, I see as a future piece to this team. Are you going to roll the dice and go for another backup catcher on the free agent market, which I think that they've done a great job with, guys like James McCann, Omar Narvaez was a great signing by them. Luis Terrens has been quite the steal, I think. One of the better moves made by David Stearns over these past 3 seasons. I think that they're going to keep him around. I think pitchers love throwing to him. Andrew, again, I'm not making him untouchable, but like we were already saying with the young pitchers, it's important to have a guy like Luis Terrens here who is a very high IQ defensive catcher.
Yeah, so again, that would make sense. So knowing David Stern, he's going to trade him because he extended him, so his arbitration number doesn't go higher than what I think giving.
Yeah.
Seeing teams, you know how teams look at arbitration and going to fight. Now with the extension given, flat, so now the teams know what they're making. Again, I think both catchers go when the phones are open because I think teams are going to be like, hey, Alvarez is available, but okay, we're not really
You know
going to
what I'll
trade
do?
Alvarez. Hey, we have Luis Torrens here. Or you want to put him on? Okay, that works. He on top of Lightning.
Yeah,
that works.
I'll do it with that.
But I do
yeah.
think the Mets are going to use Alvarez as like, oh, we want to trade a catcher. Okay, Yankees or who other teams? Some other teams, Tampa Bay that needs catchers. Hey, we got Alvarez here. We don't really want to move him, but hey, we could talk about Luis Torrens and say, hey, we're more willing to. We'll talk about him. And I think it could be Alvarez is the bait, while Torrens is probably one they move because again, it also depends. Again, there's the Rays, the Yankees are desperate for catchers, so we'll see again. And catchers don't get moved at the deadline, so it's a weird proposition to trade for a catcher at the deadline. Like Kristen Vasquez was better than Maldonado on an Astros run, and yet Maldonado played more because he was there the whole time compared to Vasquez who came in and just didn't play. So I know the Yankees are desperate for a catcher, and $100,000 or Luis Torrens. I think the Yankees regret that trade. Thanks, Dumpster Dave. But again, I think both of them could be at least talked about. Again, I don't think either of them are guaranteed. But again, I think Alvarez is the bait to teams being like, hey, we're talking catchers, and then like, oh, you're not going to meet our price on Alvarez. Okay, let's start talking about Torrens. What your prices are more what we want for Torrens, and then there you go. I think both are available. I would say both being here on the roster. I'm going to say. 60%.
They'll draw interest.
They'll draw interest. And again, all you need to do is just throw the chum, bring the Sharks over, and let's start talking.
Yeah, I genuinely believe that Luis Torrens is an important piece to this team. I really do. And I think we all know, but again, it's not in the flashy way, but in the margin way of trying to build this thing up and hopefully going back to relevance, you'd hope. Speaking of guys who are not important at all, Brett Beatty, fuck off, go away. He's not going anywhere. But
He's going to be right there.
he should be traded. And again, he should go away. He should have been traded in the offseason when you signed Bo Bichette to be your third baseman. But no, they said, hey, this Make-A-Wish kid needs to be a utility gimmick, just like Jeff McNeil. The guy's a loser. The guy's a bum. He doesn't do anything correctly. Out of all of those four, dumb as dirt. The lowest IQ possible. We've heard the Marlins. Have been interested in Beatty before. You can take him for a block of cheese. I don't care. Just get him out of here. But he will not go anywhere.
Well, hold on.
Because
Some
life
cheeses are
isn't
more valuable
fair.
than others.
What kind of cheese?
Well, it's going to be expired cheese.
Oh, nobody want that. I don't want that. No, just diarrhea time. No thanks.
Well, that's what he's worth. That's what he's worth.
Hey,
Andrew,
a contender said that they wanted to talk about Brett Beatty. So teams value Brett Beatty.
yeah.
That in that same article that Chelsea
Exactly.
says, contenders
And
want
listen,
Brett Beatty
I
because
was
they
a
see the
French maid,
talent.
and I was a French maid in my past life. So yeah, we can all lie.
No, again, teams again. The
No,
Dodge-
he needs to go. He. It's
Sure.
done. We're
They all
done.
need
We're
to
in
go.
year
They
5.
need to all
No
go.
more. But we got reports from Chelsea Janes. She already said, "Oh, they see him as a staple in the lineup." Yeah, so do I. I definitely see him as a staple in the lineup for the Syracuse Mets. I really do. No, their infatuation with Brett Beatty is actually it's a fucking disgrace. But you know what? Before my entire head pops off and I turn purple, Matt, anything you want to? I mean, fuck off. Like, go away. You're not good. You stink. 10-game hitting streak. Sell high on that. He's amazing. Go away.
You should trade him because he's not good. Even though, I mean, listen, some people consider him, the golden boy of the franchise because he has so much potential. He's like Capo
He
Caco.
ate ice cream and watch David Wright.
He's misunderstood like Capo Caco. He just needs power play one time.
He'll fill a role.
He really does.
He'll go to Seattle and fill a role.
In all seriousness, he sucks. He should be traded. Get whatever you can for him. I mean, like what Andrew said, if there are teams out there that do value Brett Beatty, sure, thank you for your prospect. You can fuck off to wherever you're going, but yeah, just he needs to go because I can't watch him anymore.
No. And he's in the lineup every goddamn day.
Yeah.
Every goddamn day, this guy is in the lineup. How is that a starting player? Somehow, even when we're getting even healthier and healthier and healthier, this fucker is still in the lineup.
All right.
Still here.
Bo Bichette. Enough. Bo Bichette. What are we doing with Bo?
Bo Bichette. I don't think he's going anywhere. But we did get a report from John Heyman. And again, this is probably Bo's a Boris guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
From John Heyman right before we went live, saying that the Mets paying down some of Bo Bichette's salary and trading him has not been cannot be ruled out. Would he be looked at more as a third baseman? As a second baseman? Shortstop, I don't know how much you're going to get from that. But again, he holds more of the cards, Bo Bichette. I don't know. Does he have a no trade clause? I have absolutely no idea.
I believe he has got a no move.
He's already said that he's committed to winning here. So likely you're going to have him here. It's obviously not been a great season for him. But personally, I want him to stick around. Mainly because of the guy we just talked about. Because I don't need this team saying to themselves, we can put Brett Beatty there. It's fine. Derp.
She wanna go viral.
So I'm not going with that. But again, Bo is an interesting one. I do think that he is likely staying. Likely. To be honest, because it's come to a point of what his contract is, what the situation is. Like, he's just, I don't think much of this is movable. Like, much of it isn't, and I don't think there's any team that wants to just absorb $42 million a year next year if he opts into it, which he likely will. So, Matt, Bo Bichette.
I agree with you. I think ultimately he does stay. Again, I would be open to moving the contract. Again, it depends on how much you're eating, because, you know, if let's say like you're doing a 50-50 split, and I think I'm not even sure if that's realistic, but like if there's a scenario, let's say where the Mets are eating half the salary, then at that point I just don't think it makes sense for the Mets to eat that much of the contract, just because I think Bo, listen, he's had an up and down year per se, because there's been points this year where he's really sucked, and then there's been points this year where he's been really fucking good. And look, he's played a solid third base, so again, I just think the trade needs to make sense for the Mets in order for him to trade him. I don't want to like kick him to the curb per se. So again, if you can get a good deal for him, sure, I'm open to trading for him. I just think that Bo going forward could be a valuable piece for this team. Ultimately, though, I just think that contract is too big and there's too much money owed to him over these next 2 years, where I just don't think you'll see a team trade for him. So I think he will stay.
Yeah, we'll see again, but I do want him to prove himself next year as a valuable piece to this team as the third baseman, because I do believe he's a lot better than what he has been this year, personally. I really do. And again, we've already talked about that adjustment period. Speaking of first year in New York, arguably the worst player on the team, unfortunately, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think he's going anywhere. Marcus Semien, I don't think anybody wants the contract at all. If you find somebody that wants it, fine, because the guy's washed. Arguably one of the worst players in all of baseball this year. He's just terrible. Like, he's been terrible all year. Little bit of banged up or whatever, but it's been brutal to watch Marcus Semien, especially as someone such as myself, who was a big fan of Marcus Semien, especially when he came in. But for a long time, love Marcus Semien. Love him. Man was a dog in his day. You guys should have seen him. The dude would move like a gazelle. It was beautiful. Andrew, I don't see it happen. I don't see Marcus Semien getting moved. More in the unfortunate sense. Could there be a possibility where they try to find a way to move him in the offseason and try to just get off of it? I don't know, but this is just it's a shitty situation where I don't think anybody wants him. I don't think anybody is going to be knocking on the door saying, "Hey, Marcus Semien, can I have him?" No one's going to go for that.
No, so again, you're stuck with him, and again, this is probably just going down Robbie Cano 2.0. You're gonna stuck with him on the roster for another year, and then you just tell him to fuck off after next year. You DFA him and you move on. The last year, like nobody's taking it unless there's not even you're not doing like the reverse Brandon Nimmo trade of I'll take somebody else's dumb contract on the plays. No, he'll just be here, and he needs to be playing the bench the rest of the season, and he can just be an old man coach, like how Frank wanted to make everyone coaches. That's what Marcus Semien should be doing. Should be the 26-man coach. Doesn't play, just sits in the. He can hold the Spider-Man sign. He can hold the Spider-Man.
He could be our Udonis
mask.
Haslam.
Exactly. Just sit on the bench every day, unk, and sleep.
All right. Go away, Mark Vientos. I think we can all agree. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get traded because he got hurt. And there was a lot of Mets fans that were saying, oh, he got hurt. It's addition by subtraction. And I was sitting here saying, like, no, that kind of just bought him more time on this team. Do people realize, like, he probably will survive this deadline now that he's injured? So, yeah, that kind of sucks. Yes, we don't want to watch him play at all. We're done with him. He's extremely unlikable. His attitude stinks. But, like, that bought him more time, I think. Like, that was a bad thing that he got injured, in my opinion. I think it was bad, really bad. And again, you don't want to see guys injured. You don't want to see guys get injured, obviously, if you're a decent human being. Matt, I mean, I personally think that bought him more time. The same thing goes for Brett Beatty, who's 10-game.
I mean, listen, he's at the end of the day, he's the swagoo. He's the swaggiest of all the swaggies. He's got elite baseball IQ, elite baseball talent. On a serious note, though, listen, again, I don't want to see him injured, but the injury did buy him time, and probably, you factor that in with the fact that he's been, shit this year. Probably you're not going to get a team that trades from. I mean, why the hell would you want to trade from? Because again, when you look at the aspects, first of all, he's only a good baseball player when he's hitting. And okay, sure, he's shown spurts of him being a good hitter, but again, it's spurts. It lasts 3 games if you're lucky at most. When we've seen the best of Vientos this year, he's had one good game where he has like 3 hits and has a home run, and then he ends up being shit for the next 2.5 weeks. So again, it's not sustainable. Second of all, he's the most skinniest, unathletic person I've ever seen in my life play, professional sports. The guy can't run. He can't do anything that, needs athleticism. And 3, he has no defense, or he has no position defensively. So again, you're getting a glorified DH that for the most part can't hit consistently. So why would you trade for that at all? So again, I would love to get rid of him. Listen, for me, I wouldn't even need to take anything back. I would just get rid of him for nothing if it was me. But it's not going to happen. He's going to stay here next year. Maybe they get rid of him in the offseason. Who the hell knows? But I don't think he gets traded at this deadline.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Again, I don't know what teams want him. I don't want him. Nobody to be honest, I legitimately would just sell his contract overseas at this point. Like, that's how pathetic Mark Vientos is. Thank you for pointing that out, Andrew, that I need Weaver on here. But let's see. Add images. Okay, so we need to add in
The best trade chip we got,
Weaver.
not even on the lids.
Yeah, sorry, I was doing this pretty quick here. But either way, yeah, I just, again, that bought him time, in my opinion. I really do think it did. Ronnie Mauricio, he should be traded, I think, for the sake of his career. They don't even give the guy the time of the day anyway. And to be honest, does he deserve it? I don't even know. I have absolutely no idea. He probably stinks. Who knows? But even when Lindor was out for a majority of time, he ends up getting hurt. He comes back. He seems to be like, oh, yeah, well, this is going to be our bench infielder or whatever. Maybe if consistent spurts, maybe he shows you something, but he's not going to show it here. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. I don't think anybody disagrees, right? I mean,
No, get that Walmart shopper out of here.
Andrew,
Again,
Mauricio.
Yeah, just he's had enough opportunity. Well, not again. Let me phrase it. He hasn't had enough
No,
opportunities.
he's had no
but
opportunities. They don't even give a shit about him.
You've ran out of minor league. You burnt all of his options. Like, it sucks. He'll go to the Rays and hit 45 homers in the Trop, and we're all gonna look stupid. But just let it go. Like, again, you have to clear this 40-man roster of all this fat. All three of the morons have to go, and then even if Alvarez, just clear that core up, move on. Let this be the David Stearns children, and get rid of all the Ep Dog and all the Alderson dudes. Get them out of here.
All right, Matt. This is our Zach Jones right here. Give him a chance somewhere else.
Yeah, listen, I think Mauricio, if he goes somewhere and he is given an actual opportunity, I think he actually could become at least a solid depth major league piece. It's not going to happen here. Again,
No.
It's clear that the Mets have just never valued him, because every time he comes up here, even if he does show, even if he does show a glimmer of hope, he always ends up back on the bench, because you got to play Brett Beatty over him, because why would you actually give the guy with actual tools a shot over the guy that failed fifth grade, Carson stated multiple times?
Also, those tools have probably deteriorated. You just don't know because of the ACL tear. Some guys just don't recover from it, and he's lost a lot of time.
Listen, that is true. Again, some guys recover differently. So, some guys, are affected differently by it. Again, I think he should be moved for his sake. Hopefully, if he does go somewhere, hopefully he does break out for his sake. I know our organization will look like a bunch of dumbasses, but for his sake, I hope he goes out there and performs well wherever he does end up going.
Listen, buy in all on Beatty. That's what happens when you do that. I don't even know why Wagaman is even here. I think he's probably the guy I probably put
Going
here
nowhere,
instead
bro.
of Weaver.
Exactly. My
but Jared Young is an interesting one because he's obviously on pre-arb.
Yeah.
Again, I would keep the phones open for him if you can get some value, because again, he hasn't hit at this level that consistently throughout his entire career. He was playing in, the KBO, so you could sell high on him. You definitely could, especially if you're like, hey, maybe we'll give Clifford a look towards the end of the season. If you're looking at something like that, he's been your best first base option. Nobody expected that to be the deal. But listen, he's a very honorable Canadian man. And I think, again, we will miss him if he is out of here, but you obviously have to listen for a team that, in the postseason would probably want to see, hey, maybe a platoon bat, an extra bat in that order. Somebody who can play first base. You never know. Matt, I'll go to you on this one. I mean, listen, very honorable Canadian. He took it on the chin when he got the silver medal in the Olympics in hockey. Listen, he's been a gentleman. He really has.
Now, listen, Jared Young has had the same type of archetype and same type of story like another fellow Canadian that we ended up liking in Sam Carrick. Again, didn't like him when he first came in, was very against it, but he's actually, turned his tenure around. Obviously, Carrick with the Rangers, Buffalo Sabre, and, Jared Young now with the New York Mets. So listen, if he does go somewhere, I wish him nothing but the best, because, Jared Young, he's a respectable Canadian. He does not chainsaw his TV, even if he does lose a gold medal game against the U.S. national team. But, yeah, listen, I think it is smart to keep the phones open on him, whether he does get traded or not, who knows. But I would love to see him stay, but if he does get traded, good luck wherever he goes.
I think he does probably stay, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was sold high, personally, because again, running the assets. Okay, so Nick Morabito, I think, is staying.
Yeah.
He's on the
40-man.
The 40-man roster. He's here, and that's where I want to kind of go into this next one, being Tyrone Taylor. Now, Taylor is retiring. Is no, hey. Taylor is an expiring free agent. We haven't really heard much about him possibly getting traded, but personally, I'm going to tell you right now, he's bringing up his value, I think, by the day. Because ever since he came back from the injured list, he's been probably pretty good in limited sample. I'm going to tell you right now. And to be honest, he's good in doses. We know that he's good in doses. He's always been good in doses. Ever since coming back, the guy has a 257 weighted runs created plus and 32 plate appearances. So I think he's going to have value. And personally, again, he should be traded.
Yes.
Not please go away, because again, we love Tyrone Taylor. He's very cutesy.
He hoops.
He's a hooper. But again, asset management, selling off the expiring deals. Matt, listen, this is a hooper, right? This is a guy who you can, again, he can lead your team to battle. Okay.
Yeah, again,
and there's some teams that maybe are a little bit more complete than others, and they're like, hey, we need a defensive first center fielder. Maybe you need somebody to hit left-handed pitching off the bench. That's what Tyrone Taylor can do.
Yeah, listen, like Jared Young, Tyrone Taylor, he's a very respectable man. He goes up, he shows to work. He does his thing. He's a good guy, like Sam Rosen always says. But listen, he's
a hard worker.
He's a hard worker on the hardest working team in the league, of course. But no, listen, I mean, day one since he's came here from the Brewers, back, when he was included in that deal with Adrian Hauser, Taylor was the one shining bright piece of that trade, because we know that Adrian Hauser crashed and burned here. But listen, he's been a respectable hitter, has been the most consistent hitter in his time, but he's played a very good, solid, reliable center field defense. But listen, like the Mets should trade him because, again, listen, if Taylor does want to come back in the offseason, like, cool, fine. Like, it would be a cheap 1-year deal anyway, but it makes no sense on an expiring deal for them to want to keep him and extend him. At least trade him, get an asset back for him. And again, like you said, Carson, since he's come off from the injured list, Taylor's been one of our better. He's arguably been one of our best power hitters as well, because he's hit a couple of home runs since coming off the IL. So
yes, you're right.
Listen, so they should trade him, get an asset back. Again, if he wants to come back next year, cool, by all means, sign him to a 1-year deal. But again, there's no reason to keep him beyond the trade deadline.
Yeah, Nick Morabito, I think they're going to probably give him some run after the trade deadline with a guy like Tyrone Taylor out of here. Tyrone Taylor this season, and again, he really doesn't even have 200 plate appearances. He has a 718 OPS. Like, he actually, again, that's more fluctuated in that way. But if you're getting that off of the bench, and again, 96 weighted runs created plus, obviously not getting on base because this guy will pretty much refuse to walk. But the guy knows how to put the ball in play. Again, he knows how to play the game the right way. Speaking of a guy who barely even plays the game these days and is actually activated off of the injured list today, Luis Robert Jr. I think, again, if all goes well in these next 2 weeks, he's going to get time in center field. I'd have to think he's good as gone, because I just don't think they're going to pick up any option. I don't think they want to lose him for nothing. Again, it goes into more of the category of guys like Tyrone Taylor, defensive first center fielder. There's maybe some teams that were interested in Robert beforehand, before the Mets ended up trading for him. Phillies have come up before. The Phillies, who do they have in center field right now? Justin Crawford. They have a platoon, don't they? Don't the Phillies have a platoon? It's like Crawford and Rojas. So Crawford, who has not been good, maybe they end up sending him down to AAA again. He hasn't been great at all. And they bring in somebody like Robert. You never know. I don't even know what that market would look like. Andrew? You probably know this better than me.
The fact that, again, it's pretty much just a 1-year deal, and the fact that you control the option. This is where the insane, but this team always does it with a center fielder, and they did it with guys like Lane Thomas. I can see the Guardians just being like, hey, we'll take him because when they just decline the second-year option, play against left-handed pitching and play center field. This is what the Guardians always do. But again, I think the Phillies. You look at The Nationals could be. Well, I guess Jacob Young. He's kind of regressed. There's just maybe the Nationals they're trying, but it looks like now they're leaning back, selling after everyone's like, oh, they're gonna buy. Now they're leaning, selling. Miami would be kind of fun. That kind of makes some sense for them to play some center field because their outfield has not been great. So again, there'll be teams that again. If he hits can he do what he did last year and get raging hot right before the deadline, then get traded? Do what you did last year, Luis, and we'll be happy. But again,
exactly. One thing I just want to add, one team I want to add in, Diamondbacks. That's one you could possibly consider because they have like 3 outfielders on the injured list right now. I'm pretty sure their starting left fielder is Max Kepler, who has been just, again, just god-awful.
Yeah.
They have Waldschmidt, right? Who has been
Ryan Waldschmidt,
pretty
their top
solid for
prospect.
them.
Yeah, obviously Corbin.
Again,
They still have the Alec
something in
Thomas.
their outfield. But again, Robert, it hasn't worked out. I would love to see a sick 2 weeks from you. Love to see it. Get him back into the groove. And then, you also see less of Brett Beatty at second base or
As he's
things
playing
like
second
that.
base tonight.
That is so cute. He actually played right field yesterday. So again, shove Brett Beatty down my throat no matter what. Jorge Polanco,
Staying.
he's probably staying. Like, I just don't see it happening at all unless Seattle gets nostalgic and they're like, hey, we want him back. He's been hurt all year. And when he's been healthy, it hasn't really been great for him at all. So again, I feel like Seattle, it's like, oh, yeah, if they want him back, sure, take him. But other than that, I just don't think he's... It's pretty much a standstill. Why is Tyler McGill... Whatever.
What did you
We'll
do?
put him in...
You made this.
Let's put him in the phones are open because fuck
Tyler
him.
McGill
And,
could never be traded.
Exactly. Bro never gets traded.
Tyler McGill is Mr. Inevitable.
He's the Brett Beatty of pitching.
Let's see. Huascar Brazaban, I think, is staying. I would say he's staying because it's already been put in reports multiple by Will Salmon saying, hey, they see him as a future piece to this bullpen. And listen, man of many talents, and he's been great for them in these recent.
Sell high. The dude's 90. Sell high.
Hey,
please.
he's got control.
Dude, he's 90.
He's got
years old.
control.
I don't give a shit. He's got control. He's
Well,
90.
hey, this is not what you want to do, though. This is not about you. You're not the main character.
This
You're just
believing
not.
in a 38. It's like giving Julio Franco at 42 years old a 2-year extension. Bro,
Okay.
just trade high. Get him out of here.
Will you see? These are the sidetracks that I don't need. Okay.
I need
Reed
Roller
Garrett
Flowers.
is likely staying.
Start.
Luke Weaver.
Better be. Knowing this
I
organization,
think that
should be.
again, when you're talking about the selling high, I think there's an argument for both sides with this. Of like, oh, the guy can pitch in New York. He's had success in New York. You're trying to compete. But I think that in terms of getting something back for assets and considering how big relievers are going on this market, it only makes sense that he should be traded. But you also can be like, hey, phones are open. We're listening. But again, sign through next year. Who knows if he'll be any better? I have no idea. I think he should be moved. I think they should. Again, you're not going to just give him away, but they should shop him around pretty profusely. Word of the day. Andrew? Weaver?
Again, like Brazaban, you sell high. Like, I get, you want to bill for next year. Yeah. Next year's not guaranteed. So, I get it.
Brazaban has more years of
He's
control.
got more, yes, but still, he's 90. Again, sell high when you have value. Again, stop holding assets because there's a world where if we do play baseball next year, Brazaban goes back to his last year form, and you're not selling high. That's my thing with Brazaban. Weaver, again, you have to just sell high, barring San Diego putting that guy on the market, because I know what happens when I say his name. He is the best arm on the market, so you have to take advantage. Not caring about, next year's not guaranteed. Stop if we play it, we're playing a COVID year, 60-game season. Like, I don't want to hear about, Next year's not guaranteed. The year after, sure, we could talk about like getting younger guys, and that makes sense term-wise. If we're talking about guys who have 2 years or less, I don't care. If the guy has value, sell him now. We'll fit. If there is a season, which would be the positive, that say hey, we're playing baseball next year, which most of us don't expect, then you can be like, well, how do we build a team? We don't expect baseball. Sell high when you have assets at sell them at their peak, because we've seen, especially in the should go pile or get me out to get away, when you hold assets to say, well, we need him on the team next year. No, you sell high when you have the possibility to do it.
Why are you yelling at me?
I like yelling
Matt,
at you.
I mean, again, you're not going to just give him away,
Yeah.
but it makes sense for them to sell high on Luke Weaver, who's, again, he's going to be one of the best relievers on the market, arguably the best with how great he's been.
No, yeah, listen, you're not going to just give him away for nothing, because at the end of the day, the guy's been one of the better relievers in all of Major League Baseball this year in terms of, results-wise. Whether he is talent-wise the best or one of the best relievers in baseball, it's not a discussion, but you can't argue that the numbers are in his favor for this year. And I mean, yesterday or 2 days ago when he gave up the home run, the solo shot, that was his first earned run in months that he's given up. So again, the guy's been excellent. I'm not going to give him up for nothing, but if I'm David Stearns, I would trade him, because one, like Andrew says, you sell high, especially with relievers. We know that relievers from year to year are very inconsistent. So if you're telling me that you're going to get, one or two good relievers in a possible Luke Weaver trade, then yeah, I'm not going to take that risk and say, maybe I can wait till next year, maybe see if I can get a bit better. One, you don't want to wait till next year, because two, even if we do play baseball, the ideal scenario is that the Mets are contenders. So then you wouldn't be trading Luke Weaver in the first place. But while you are in the situation that you are in right now, trade him. Again, get the assets back, trade for him on a high note, and don't risk, even if we do play baseball next year, that he could go and maybe, let's say, he sucks next year, or, worst case scenario, he gets injured and then you can't trade him at all. Yeah. Again, I don't even think we're playing baseball next year, so it is what it is. But trade, sell high on him.
Yeah, I would definitely sell. And again, you're not going to just completely give him away, like we already said. But this is someone who you should capitalize on what it is. Clay Holmes. I'm going to put him... Oh, whoops. Where did he go? He disappeared.
He's in right there.
Okay. I'm going to put him in phones or open, because I think this can go one or two ways. We got reports recently that the Mets are starting contract extension talks with Clay Holmes. He's talked about it publicly, saying, I want to stick around. Here's where I'm at, and I've already said this already. If he wasn't injured, I would trade him. But I just don't know where that looks at as of right now. He's, no matter what, going to be declining that player option, no matter if he's healthy or not, because he definitely is worth a lot more than that. This is a freak injury. Other teams know that. If he wasn't injured, I would move him right now. But when we talk about stability of the rotation, Clay Holmes, again, has been stable. He could be someone you put him in the 4 spot or the 5 spot. He's been that reliable when he's on the mound. And personally, again, I don't think we were seeing much of concerns with arm injuries. It was a freak injury that we got. Broken leg. It happens. It seems like he is ramping his way back. We'll see. Again, I don't think he's going to be back in time for that. So it's either you get an extension done or you end up trading him at the buzzer of the deadline. So that's basically where it's at. The phones are open, but they'll probably close if they find a way to extend him. Andrew?
Yeah, I'd give him to the 25th. You got a 5-day window. If you can get a contract extension done, by all means, welcome back. You're going to be middle of this rotation. If by July 25th we ain't got no extension talks, then he has to be traded. Like there's no if. Mm-hmm. Well, no, give him a 5-day window. We'll discuss 5 days. See if we can. If he looks like he's open to. We've seen other teams like the Orioles get Kyle Bradish done. We've seen some extensions. Can you put 5 years, $90 million in front of him? Does he take that? Because I think he's technically Kyle Bradish has been a better starter than him, but I wouldn't say Clay at his peak is that much worse than Kyle Bradish. I love Kyle Bradish, but again, he's that kind of low 2, really good number 3 guy. So if you put a 5 years, $90 million, gives him a raise from what he's 13 reliever money, making reliever money, to a good jump, get it done. If not, then he becomes a very valuable trade chip because just like, I said a couple weeks ago, teams don't care that you're injured. Again, injured players get traded all the time at the deadline. And we already got a report this week that, teams and evaluators expect them to get a Shane Bieber type trade like he was last year, which was a top 75 prospect going the other way.
I was just going to say that.
So, again, give him the window. If he wants to let's get an extension done, by all means. Welcome, stay here. If not, goodbye. Time to ration your ass and let's get a top 75 prospect in here for a guy who's going to leave, at least go to free agency. Someone's going to overpay, and, Stearns is not paying long term.
We'll see what happens there. I'd love to have him back because he's been a sturdy part of this rotation. One of the saving graces, I'd say, from a lot of inconsistency we've had over these past few years. What are you shaking your head to?
No, Andrew.
I'm
Tell this dog to shut up.
I'm gonna do something to the dog. We all know what.
Okay, cool. Let's just brush past that. Anyways, for those of you watching right now, you may notice there is somebody who is not on here. And there's another point of segment, but we've already gone over the 2 hours, so I'm not going to push it into that. It's going to continue on this discussion into the next, so we'll move that on to the next podcast episode. We all know who that certain someone is, but we won't say his name because, again, we don't deal with communism here. Okay, that's just something that we just don't do. So there's our overview of what possibly could happen with the trade deadline. We're still going to be talking about it throughout the entirety of these 2 weeks. And then, of course, we'll be live for the last 3 hours of it. Rapid fire stories real quick. Zach Short was designated for assignment as the corresponding move for the activation of Marcus Semien off the injured list. He was 1 for 14 with a walk in his 2 separate stints with the Mets. He was on their opening day roster in 2024. Just keeps coming back. I'm sure he'll be back once again. He cleared waivers and he was outrighted to AAA Syracuse earlier today. Juan Soto exited Thursday night's game against the Phillies, the first game of that series, due to some lingering left calf soreness. That was not the calf that he injured. He did return to the lineup on Saturday as the left fielder and as the DH, so he seems to be fine. He missed 13 games due to a minor right calf strain that he had earlier this season. First-round pick Carson Wiggins has signed with the Mets on full slot value of $3,466,500, going to the 27th overall pick in the MLB draft. Other overslot signings include Aiden Robbins, Luke McNeely, Aiden Keaton, Kuhio Aloy, AJ Crodel, and Jacob Madrid. They have signed 18 of their 19 draftees. Marcus Ward is the only one that likely will not sign because he's probably going to go into college as a pitcher, being an outfielder for his high school career. Luis Robert Jr. has been activated for tonight's game off the injured list. He's been sidelined since the end of May due to lumbar spine disc herniation, and Eric Wagaman was optioned down to AAA as the corresponding move. Clay Holmes, speak of the devil, completed a Actually, no, he's an angel. I shouldn't say speak of the devil. Completed a 45-pitch bullpen session in High A, Brooklyn on Saturday night due to weather canceling his rehab start. He is expected to make at least 2 rehab starts before activation on 5 days rest. He's been sidelined on the IL since the middle of May due to a right fibula fracture in his right leg. Rafi Vasquez has had his contract purchased by the Mets from the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs from the Atlantic League. He posted a dazzling 1.01 earned run average across 35.2 innings pitched in the Independent League. He has been assigned to High A Brooklyn for his minor league debut. Former Mets infielder Ron Hunt has passed away at the age of 85. He spent 4 seasons with the Mets to begin his major league career. He actually ranks 6th all-time in baseball history in hit by pitch with 243. 12 seasons in the major league split across with the Mets, of course, the Expos, the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals. So either way, let's get into this Mets versus Brewers series, which we're not going to take forever on because, again, these games do not count. However, game 1, which is tonight, will be started by Freddie Peralta against his former team that traded him to us before the season started, and he'll face the leading candidate for the NL Cy Young and 24-year-old hard-throwing phenom Jacob Mezorowski. First pitch is tonight at 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Game 2, Mets pitching prospect Zach Thornton will make his 4th MLB start. He'll face the former Mets pitching prospect and returning piece in the returning piece in the Freddie Peralta trade / Tobias Myers trade, Brandon Sproat. First pitch is tomorrow night at 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. And the series finale, Christian Scott will get the start. He'll face the 24-year-old rookie right-hander Logan Harrison. First pitch is Wednesday afternoon.
Henderson.
Logan Henderson. What did I say? Harrison. Sorry. They have Kyle Harrison. First pitch is Wednesday afternoon at 2:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Again, young pitching on display. Andrew, what are your feels out for this series? Don't have to go crazy.
Yeah, Miz is going to inappropriately touch us tonight. But overall, rest of the series, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what the former Met against the Mets and Brandon Sproat. We should be able to hit him. Everyone else in the Major Leagues has hit him. But knowing the Mets' lore of having guys that they trade for, first opportunity, I'm expecting 7 shutout ball. But again, Sal Frelick is hurt from the Brewers, but we know what the Brewers are going to be. They're athletic, they're annoying, they're like all 5'2". They love their speed and contact guys, and that's what they are. And obviously, their best, they called up Lava, one of their international signings that they picked up. One of the fastest dudes ever in the Major Leagues currently, and just another one of these spark plug pain in the asses. Obviously, Bryce Strang, maybe the most underrated player in baseball nobody talks about. He's always in Churios doing well. Yelich
Pookie Terang.
Pookie Terang is, WBC legend. But overall, their bullpen's got a bunch of guys that throw 100 with sliders. And then they're one of the best pitcher teams in the Major League. So I'm expecting us to, again, be put in a locker and thrown a locker lit on fire. But, we beat the Phillies. So maybe we win again. We beat up Paul Skeens on opening day. So, we can beat Miz.
I'll save Matt the breath on this because, again, he's going to be doing plenty of the play calling tonight. And for that, to see if Mizorowski completely destroys us, make sure to tune in tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday afternoon for watch-along coverage of Mets versus Brewers, hosted by the newest members of Mets Weekly, Evan and Matt, 10 minutes before first pitch, 7:30 p.m. tonight and tomorrow, and 2 p.m. on Wednesday, barring any delay needed for live play-by-play commentary, banter, out-of-pocket jokes, and some special guests along the way. It all starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, 10 minutes before first pitch. We hope to see you guys there. Last thing I want to get into, which I can't have this get completely ignored. There was a ban on iPads and overall things that they were using in dugouts across the major leagues that they banned it. And apparently the Mets were the team that they cracked down on the most of. Now, here's the thing. Former Mets reliever Adam Ottavino had something to say about it. And I'm going to tell you right now, the way that he phrased it, and he's obviously been someone who's spoke publicly a lot about the Mets, behind the scenes, good and bad, about them using AI to call pitches. I'm going to play the clip for everybody. I don't even know what to say anymore. I really don't. So here's Adam Ottavino on the Mets using AI the other day.
Did you see the story on MLB banning the custom tab on the in-dugout iPad? Any thoughts? Yes, I knew about this for a while. The Mets were actually the main team that got cracked down on. They had an AI program that was very expensive, apparently, and they were bragging about it a little bit early on in the year. Some of the coaches that I know were talking about it from around the league, and they had basically an AI program helping them pick pitches, and I think some other stuff, but MLB got wind of it and nipped that right in the butt, so apparently they weren't the only team, but I knew about it from the Mets angle, which, they try to throw some money at the situation. Steve ponied up for, I think this program, from what I heard, was several $100,000 to have, but
Andrew, what do you make of that? Because it's like, of course, right? Of course, the Mets find a way somehow to embarrass themselves using AI to call pitches. It obviously hasn't worked because the team sucked. I mean, listen, the certain amount of technology that is used in Major League Baseball, it should be welcomed in again to give you somewhat of a competitive advantage. But then there goes to a different level of this where we're talking about AI calling pitches. You know, the same thing we use to make our stupid AI songs. To be honest, it was more of a, to be honest, I feel like that was more productive because the Mets have gotten nothing out of it. Like, it comes to a certain point, you're like, okay, enough is enough. You're not making us look better when we have to talk about, oh, David Stern's fiddling with his formulas or whatever. Like, there comes to a point where it's like, you're not helping. And for this to come out, it's like, of course, right? Of course.
Yeah, again, this is what happens when you let nerds run your game. Everyone's playing iPad games, and they're telling you to go red fish, blue fish, throw a slider down the dick. Like, it's bad. Like, enough. I've had enough of this lull Met mentality that we thought, hey, when Cohen came in, this would change. Nope, you still get these lull Met, stupid, absolute nothing burger. What's the point? But of course, it happens to this team because of course it does, and it never stops, and it's just what it is. I mean, it's pathetic. You know, am I shocked? No, because you know the internet is what it is, and everyone's using AI, and that's what every company does. And I hate that people are like, "Oh, yelling about everyone using it, bro." It's 2026. Everyone uses AI. It's like enough. Like, stop crying about it. But again, if you need AI, I mean, it also makes sense what Alvarez is catching. You know, we gotta have a computer tell him that Alvarez slider, fastball, changeup. That's how you work it. But again, it's embarrassing. But again, it's nothing new. Remember, Kevin Plawecki exists, and that's probably the most embarrassing thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we've had even worse catchers than that. But no, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, of course, with the Mets being in the fucking dumpster this year, it just doesn't help. It's just basically just like, yeah, we're just licking our wounds at this point. And I'm so done with hearing what I'm hearing of like, okay, there's a certain balance you need in this game. And I'm just getting so tired of hearing how they're going full throttle the way that they are. And it's basically just giving a voice to the voice of, oh, I want the old school game. And with the Mets failing the way that they are, it validates what they are saying, but they're not saying it in the correct way.
Exactly. Put them in a locker.
So at this point, it's like, Matt, I'll let you just speak like a little bit on it because we got to obviously get out of here. We went over the time, but it's like, it comes to the lack of feel and the lack of balance that I think that David Stearns definitely lacks. And it's basically been shown throughout these 3 seasons, but this is like over the top to a point. It's like, okay, you're using AI to call pitches and it's not even working and you're bragging about it too. Like, what is there to brag about right now? The team is 16 games under 500.
To be honest, I just don't give a shit. Like, I'll be completely honest. I don't care. When the story came out, I didn't care. I don't care now. Whatever. It is what it is. I couldn't care less. That's...
How else can we embarrass ourselves, right? I mean, just what else?
Oh, listen. All I know, and I'm not doing this out of like being what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? Not out of spite, but like, let's just put it this way: if the Dodgers were using this technology, there would be no crackdown on the Dodgers. That's all I'll say.
You have Shohei who watches Cocomelon while his team's in the
and
field,
makes bets,
right?
And puts some bets down. So he's drafting.
All I'm saying was, listen. We know the Mets are fucking stupid. That by all means, if the Dodgers were doing, the same shit,
that's what frustrates me the most. It's like you can change so much shit no matter what. The Mets will find a way to embarrass themselves. That's what sucks. And why I continue to say, I'm like, there's no helping this franchise at this point. They have a new owner, a new this, it's just I'm out of answers at this point. I'm out of answers. It's like, oh yeah, you're gonna use the advanced technology. It ain't working. It sucks.
Got to rebrand a jersey, the name, and everything. It's the only thing we haven't changed.
Unbelievable. How many times can you embarrass yourself on a daily basis? Holy shit. Anyways, we are creeping into watch along time, which is 10 minutes from now. So make sure to tune in. Matt, you'll be on the call to begin it. I'll probably join about an hour in, like the usual. Thank you guys so much for watching. We went over plenty. We didn't even get to everything today. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. The links are in the description. Watch along in 10 minutes. We'll get that thing up started. And then, either way, let's go Mets. Try to enjoy the rest of the season, even though this team makes it extremely difficult. And we'll either see you guys in the watch along or we'll see you guys next time.